This is the game recap presented by Ankin Law. Injury law made personal. They're here to help. Visit ankinlaw.com to learn more. We got an extended version of the game recap this week with everybody on set. Karma, I get to talk to Cole all the time on the 85, which, by the way, new episode tonight, 7 p.m. Break down everything from the whole weekend in a much longer format. So there's plenty in there. Make sure you subscribe to the 85. Separate YouTube channel, podcast feed as well. The 85 with Cole Kmet. Go check it out. So you take it away, Carm.
Well, it is weird to be excited right now because, we're sitting, you guys are sitting in the 6-game losing streak. But first of all, Cole and I, we didn't talk about it, but the fact that we're both wearing gray sweaters is huge for me.
We're twinning.
So we're twinning. And,
I think this is the first week we didn't wear the same thing.
Yeah. Seriously. I know.
On the 85.
Yeah. So this is big. All right. So I guess my first question, what excites you most about Thomas Brown if we're going to look forward here and just try to go that route to start the show?
Carm, I appreciate the positive question to start.
Thank you.
That's very thoughtful of you. You didn't have to do that, but you did.
I know I didn't, but listen, last year I was Ty curious for a minute there. People got on me, and now yesterday we sorted through. I'm down with the Brown. Let's go. Let's go, Thomas.
I love it. Obviously things that I've talked about when he took over as OC, same things, and I'm excited for him as a head coach. And I think that just kind of expands. You talk about his command of the room, his ability to be direct with the players, his standards that he set, and how clear and concise I think that has been for the offense and what's expected and what's not expected of us in the building and on the football field and in the meeting room, all those type of things. And I think that'll just kind of spread out throughout the rest of the football team. And I thought we had a good team meeting the other day, and I think guys are excited to get behind Thomas here for this final 5-game stretch of the regular season and kind of see what we can do with some of ththese coaches in a new role. And obviously, guys want to put good stuff on tape here for these final 5 games and down the stretch here. And shoot, who knows what can happen here for these final 5, and we'll see where it goes. But guys are definitely excited about TV and what he presents to the football team.
Do you worry? I mean, maybe it's wasted energy, but do you worry about guys checking out, coaches checking out? Like there's likely huge changes coming on the staff. Who knows?
Yeah.
Do you worry about that?
I don't. I don't, just because there's so much at stake for guys on the team. Whether you're a guy like myself, who I'm going to be here for probably the next year, the next few years. I got to put good tape on for this next staff coming in, whoever it is, whether it's the staff we currently have that carries over, or it's a new staff coming in. I got to put good stuff on tape to show the things that I can do, show that I'm still improving as a player. That's the stake that's in it for me. I think that goes for the young players as well that are going to be here on this team. I think for guys who either have expiring contracts or on 1-year deals, they got to play for their free agency value. So there's a lot to play for in that regard. I think from a coaching standpoint, they kind of fit in that same thing. If you're a guy that's been elevated recently, whether it's TB or Coach Beatty, who's our receiver coach, now they can be the OC. This is a new role for those guys and an opportunity to kind of take that role and make it their own a little bit and put some good stuff on tape there as well. And whether that's sticking around here in that same role or going somewhere else and being able to provide that role for another team. There's definitely a lot to play for here for guys here down the stretch. And I mean, I was saying it on the show earlier is, until the chance of making the playoff is absolutely zero, we're still fighting for that as well. And I'm going to keep that mentality because that's part of it that keeps it going for me. And I'm not ready just to, totally turn that part of it in yet. And so there's a lot to play for. And I don't worry about guys checking out just because of the nature of the business.
So you talk about, putting things on tape. So when you're doing these rub routes, have you ever thought just lay flat on the ground or a spin move
right into it
or jump right over the guy?
No.
Because you have to understand, Cole, when you make a mistake, this is a reflection on me. And so then I have to answer to these mistakes on Twitter in live time while it's happening. So, I understand mistakes are going to happen, but then, I know they're hard routes. So I'm just trying to come up with solution. I'm not going to blame you for the mistake. I'm trying to come up with solutions. So jump over the guy, spin around, do an Allen Iverson spin move.
These are all great coaching points that I will not implement in the game. No, I mean, I said this on what we did part of my show earlier is just in my regard to those things, totally inexcusable. I can't have that happen. Right. they definitely depend on me, and those are mistakes that I don't usually make, and I can't be making. I'm a guy that has talked about, the details needed that we haven't had, and I can't be the guy that goes out there and makes a mistake like that, especially in those in that type of moment.
When you're running a route, like, how does it then become your mistake? Because you're running a route, a guy runs into you. Mm-hmm. So I'm being facetious saying like jump over him. But like,
I know
why is it why does it come down to it now being on you to get out of that guy's way?
I just think I just got to do a better job from the get-go. And I think the one I think about towards the end of the game, I do get, like, I have the backer that's it's on top of me, and then DJ's guy and man kind of right in front of me there, and I just got to take a better angle from the get-go. And so there's areas where I got to just be way better there in that scenario. I think it comes from a place of trying to do too much in that moment. Obviously the intent of that play is to get DJ open when it's man coverage, and that's the look we got there. And we hit that look a few times throughout the game for big games, and we hit that earlier in the drive actually. So I think I just got a little greedy with my angle on that play, and but at the end of the day, totally inexcusable, a thing that can't happen, especially in that moment. I get bailed out the next play with the PI call, but
great call.
But I get when we rehash those final moments of that game, like that's kind of my accountability that I have to have in that scenario. And maybe if I don't have that penalty, and the drive looks a little bit differently going from there, and maybe it doesn't come down to that final play where the clock hits 0. So that's where I got to be much better. And, I know that's going to be a focus for me going forward, making sure I'm on that. And, look, I understand mistakes happen, but, they pay me to be right in those big moments. And, at that point, I didn't do a good enough job of running that route. And you still want to affect the guy, but you don't want to obviously run into him like that. And
what do they say in NASCAR? If you're not rubbing, you're not racing.
Is that the motto?
How did you just pull that out?
I know I'm not even a NASCAR guy, but that's what they say. Yeah. That's what they say.
Well,
I've never heard.
They're not rubbing. Pause, but okay.
So okay, I'm gonna try to put you on. Not try to. I'm just gonna ask. Okay. The sack happens.
Yeah.
There's 30 some odd seconds left. I said at that point on the sidelines, like in an ideal scenario, if you can stop time, and that's obviously what the head coach's job is, but like
you actually could have.
Right, you could have. So like I think you call time right there, and then you get it all set up like, hey, we're going to run one play, and then the field goal unit's going to come on the field. But the way it went, and everyone's killed him for it, but I sort of get it. Like, he's hoping you guys are going to get a playoff, get 7 yards, whatever it is, call timeout, send him out there.
Yeah.
So at what point, like, how's your mind racing in that moment? What are you thinking that should be happening?
Obviously you see the sack happen, and like I turn around on my route and you see him on the ground. So now it's like, okay, you gotta get back to the line of scrimmage, get the play, because obviously at that point the clock had not stopped, and we had some guys on some vertical routes down the field that you're waiting to get back, and you're trying to get the play call from Caleb. Guys are a little bit. Not, in those end of games, you're just trying to get lined up in legal formations, right? And, I think DJ there was at the number 2 spot, which he's usually the number 1 or the number 3. Like, he's, not usually in that sort of spot. So a little confusion on who was taking the ball. I realized that he was still off the ball, so then I took it. And then we're still waiting for the play call there. I think Caleb was changing some things. And then obviously time just got away. So I think when I look at it, and I was talking about this, like, I understand everyone wanting to point to one person to get mad at a certain scenario in terms of how things were handled, but like, we got to be better as players operating in that situation too. We got to have an awareness of the clock. We got to get set. I got to do a better job of getting set, communicating down to the receivers in terms of what play we're going to be running. So there's culpability everywhere in that regard, and we as players got to be better there too. And we just got to operate a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner. And then in order to get that playoff and then get the timeout and then kick the field goal. So, look, I understand all the narrative going on, and I understand the nature of wanting to blame one person, but that's just never the case, man. And I really believe that. And obviously we talked about the things that transpired from the beginning of the drive, from the first play all the way to that last play, when the clocks hit 0. And there was a lot of things that we could have done a better job at. There was opportunities to score that we just kind of missed on. And I don't believe it's ever one thing. And I think we as players, and I know myself, could have operated better there in those final minutes.
So then, like, if we fast forward along, you guys have lost. You go off the field. I mean, you got to be sick and whatever. And then a lot of people have talked about Jalen in the locker room and being emotional. I don't know what you can share about that, but what was going on with that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into it, just out of respect for the locker room and, out of respect for Jalen too. I think Jalen probably has talked about it, and, people can go check that out on whatever his comments he made on it. So I'll leave that to him. But look, I mean, I know for myself, like,
I guess, have you ever experienced anything like that in the locker room? Like, how rare?
Actually, one thing I forgot to ask you on the 85.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to say?
No, I didn't. I was more, again, after that game, like, how I always take these things, and truthfully, is like, I'm always like, man, I didn't do enough. Like, I like, what did I not do right? And, like, obviously, I had things there in the final moments that I need to be better at. And, things throughout the game I wasn't happy. I definitely wasn't happy with how I played. I think one of my worst games I've played in a little while, not just from the penalty standpoint, but there's some things that I could have done a much better job throughout the game executing, and I didn't do that. So I got to rebound from that going forward this week. But, that's kind of how I take things after the game. I just look at it, man, if I would have done this here, in the first quarter, or this here in the second, and, there was a mistake I made in the third, like, is the outcome different? And that's kind of how I take things. And because it's just so hard to be, like, from my ass, and I get, like, and I'm not going to hate on anybody that, wants to say, oh, we should have done this or should have done that in terms of game management or whatever. And I get all that stuff, but it's just so hard to be perfect all the time. And I understand that until, like, in my head, until, like, I'm absolutely perfect at anything, like, I just don't want to, like, turn to blame something else, because I know if I was better, maybe the result's just totally different. Maybe we don't get in that type of scenario. So that's kind of how I look at things. But look, I took the loss very hard, and I was surprised by the ending and in terms of how it unfolded there in the last 30 seconds or so. And look, it's been a hard couple weeks. We've lost these games. We've been in these games against what some would say, I think, the 3 top teams in the league, and in a very tough division. And we're right there with them. I don't think this is not like a thing where we're losing 40 to 10. Like, that's just not happening. You know what I mean? I think that's why there's been frustration, because we know what we have on the roster. We know what we have as a team, and we've just been falling up short here and there. And, but again, that's not just one person. It's a collective. And I know we as players, I know myself, we have to be better. And, there's just areas that we're just missing here and there that we got to improve on and got to detail on and got to be better at. And, I know I'm going to start that with myself, and then, I know the rest of the guys feel that way as well.
Well, I know you talk about the sanctity of the locker room, and I think one of my favorite things I heard from Thomas Brown yesterday was family business is family business.
Yeah,
was the message he had for you guys in the locker room. Mm-hmm. And we all appreciate the access that we're getting now, obviously doing these shows with you and hearing some of the different insights that we wouldn't normally hear. But how important is it to you going forward that there isn't as much being revealed about what's being said in the locker room? Because me personally, as much as we like to hear some of these things, at the same time, just from rooting for the Bears' sake, I just feel like you guys need to start tightening the bolts a little bit.
Well, I think I totally agree with you. I think, look, I think that comes with obviously the frustration of the year and losing. Things aren't as loud necessarily when you're winning, and I think that's just kind of by nature in that regard. But look, I think we can definitely do a better job with that in terms of keeping things a little bit more tight-knit within the locker room. And, I'll put myself on that as well. And look, I still want to be able to talk to you guys in terms of how I'm feeling, in terms of how I perceive things and all that stuff. But definitely want to have respect for the guys in the locker room in terms of, not speaking for other people, I guess is what I would say.
Personal conversations, right?
Yeah. And so keeping that. So, I mean, but this day and age also, you just don't know, like, what's getting out there and what's not. Like,
sure.
Like I had Courtney ask me about a thing about Caleb a couple weeks ago where he talked to us, and like, I didn't even know that was, like, public info, so, like, there's things you just know and don't know. And in this day and age, it is a little strange. And, like, I know, like, I assume most of us probably found out about Coach being let go over the internet, or, like, over a notification. And, like, in this day and age, man, what I've realized is, like, that just kind of is what it is to a certain extent, and it's very hard to keep everything bottled in. I don't know if it's different other places. I don't necessarily think that. But it's just very hard to keep things bottled in nowadays, because it does feel like things are so public all the time, which is a little unfortunate, but I think it's just kind of being in 2024 at this point.
All right, I know we got to get going, but I want you to think about this very hard. All right,
here it comes.
In a cage match, who would win in this cage match? Thomas Brown, Bill Belichick,
oh my God,
Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson.
No comment. Move on. That's ridiculous.
He just couldn't resist.
That's ridiculous.
I think Thomas Brown probably would win.
I do know that everybody that watches this show, everybody that watches your show appreciates hearing from you as much as Braggs wants to apparently shut you up.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. No, I get, my point is that just like obviously like I want to have like either there's a balance to it, and I think I've done a all right job. You know, you speak enough. Like obviously things you say get a little the intent of what you say isn't perceived how you want it to at times, and that happened to me earlier in the year. And it's part of it. I think it's this day and age of being in 2024 and all that stuff. But yeah, part of the deal, that's for sure.
Well, and the good news is you got a lot more coming from Cole later today, 7 p.m. the 85 with Cole Kmet. It debuts. Make sure you are subscribed to that separate YouTube channel and listen to it as a podcast.
Get your 85 merch. Look at I got mine in the mail like a week ago. So let's go.
Heck yeah.
7 o'clock. Talk to you then.
Should have gone size larger.